Introduction. Detroit, Michigan, spring 1970. I'm sorry, Mrs. Goldberg, it's against the school rules. Mrs. Bradford's temples were pulsating. I, Jamie Goldberg, was her least favorite student. I was as annoying as a precocious 10-year-old student could be. Too smart for my own good, but not smart enough to make life easy for myself. She regularly humiliated me in front of my classmates, leaving me to wonder if I would ever belong to anywhere. Mrs. Bradford enjoyed thwarting me with brute strength, if not mental superiority, but my mother was a force she was unprepared for. You can't let me take my own son out of school, scolded my mother. Her small 5'1" frame, bobbing red hair, and outrageous blood-red designer coat with a black tentacle fringe made her look more menacing than her size. The tall, gray-haired Mrs. Bradford towered over my parent. He's not sick, he's perfectly well. There is no reason to take him out of school, Mrs. Goldberg. Stopping the war isn't a reason to take my son out of school. No, it isn't. You won't let me take my son out of school? No. I saw my mother relax. I couldn't suppress a smile because I knew Mrs. Bradford had lost. Okay then, just try and stop me. With that, my mother, Mrs. Ruth Esther Goldberg, demanding wife, defender of the people of Detroit, and the mother of the school's most unpopular student, walked over to my chair, picked me up by the arm. I almost stumbled out of my chair. Go, Mrs. G! Cried Brian Germain, one of the school's first black students, courtesy of my mother's political machinations. We're going, she said, and she hauled me out of class. Amid hoots from the other kids, Mrs. Bradford ran to the school intercom, yelling something I could not hear because within an instant I was out of the room. Mom whisked me into the car where my older brother Stephen was already sitting. What Neanderthal schmucks, she fumed. Off she drove us downtown. The ride was jerky, but that was normal for us. Mom's foot didn't quite reach the gas pedal, so she resorted to giving it a good kick in order to maintain speed. In the back, I was breathless from the tension in the school. I was thankful that the fight was over and settled in my mother's favor, my terror of later consequences notwithstanding. I was certain Mrs. Bradford would take revenge on me in front of my class in some dark and horrific way, while my mother, who was trying to save the world, was more willing to sacrifice her son, just as Abraham willingly offered up Isaac. Whether God would stop her at the last minute, I was unsure. My mom was driving Steve and me to the anti-war demonstration, and it wasn't the first time her political activities had gotten me in trouble with the authorities and my classmate peers. When I was 7 years old, she had maneuvered to desegregate the local school district. She succeeded in getting only one African-American child, the aforementioned Brian Germain, into our school. Mom's accomplishment turned all my friends against me. Not at first, but as kids compared notes with their parents, they ended up hating my guts, calling me nigger lover, and other names my mother would never allow me to repeat, let alone complain about. The only real close friend I had after that episode was this very same Brian Germain, the single African-American whose family had the courage to choose the all-white school. Unfortunately, that is for me, not the United States, around my 8th birthday, my mother tried again. Any remaining sympathizers disappeared when she and the local civic organization successfully sued the school for discrimination. The presiding judge ordered the school board of the neighboring African-American township to resign. Then the judge fused the two school districts into one, and instantly my school went from 75% Jewish and 24% Catholic to 51% African-American and 49% beleaguered Caucasian. This latter group couldn't get out of town fast enough, except my family. We were in it for the duration. The school became an integrated, segregated school. The African-Americans stayed among themselves and took my only friend Brian with them. This left me with no one, and neither side thanked me for my association with the ruining of both their schools.